All the talk about the Blue Jays is focused on the here and now and about how they're going to get the job done this season and the season beyond. But I'm here to tell you that this farm system is a lot better than most people are giving it credit for. There's a lot of bright young prospects, and the Blue Jays do have a bright future despite some industry sources saying otherwise. So I'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. Hey fans, I'm your host Peter Vryonis alongside host Nick Gosse. Hope you're all enjoying the final week of the NFL regular season. Can't wait for the playoffs to start there, Nick. Been a really fun football year. But the Blue Jays, they're kind of sleeping. They're sleeping at the wheel here. We're waiting for something to happen. We're waiting for a move to go down. And we're all focused on the results. We've all been waiting for this particular group to do something special, and it hasn't happened yet. The potential is there for them, but they just haven't gotten it done when it mattered most. But we want to talk about the prospects today, Nick, and all the talk has been about Ricky Tiedemann. There's been a lot of discussion about him, how special he's going to be in the short term. But there are some bright young prospects on this Blue Jays farm system, and maybe they aren't getting enough credit for being potential game breakers down the line.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of these processes we'll discuss today aren't the key ones. They might not be more ready than, let's say, a Robert Martinez or guys like that, but they're ones that are definitely going to excite Jays fans going forward. But a quick reminder before we get into it to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 12,000, and hopefully the Jays make a move soon. Because, Peter, you mentioned it. We've been talking about all the different targets, Jorge Soler, JD Martinez. We're going to take a step back from that for a little bit and discuss a couple of key prospects, and an article dropped by a bunch of different prospect insiders. It's kind of the time of the year where they shine. And let's start with Emmanuel Bonilla. He was ranked 24th out of the top 100 prospects to look out for. Obviously not next season. He is super young, but just to look for over the coming years. And Peter, we've actually had a couple videos on Bonilla, and we've discussed him a lot. He had a very, very good professional debut season last year. We signed him for $4.1 million last January, so about a year ago today, or a year ago early this month. And Bonilla got his career off to a solid start. He put up a 127 WRC plus over 50 games in the Dominican Summer League. He is an outfielder. Peter, what are your thoughts on this guy? I'm excited about him. He's very, very young, but I mean, at 17 years old to put up an 836 OPS is nothing short of incredible and very impressive, and it seems to be another great international signing by Ross Atkins.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's gotten a lot of praise for his plate discipline as well. We know the power is there. We know that he's a five-tool guy. He can run like the wind. He can play incredible defense in the outfield. But that plate discipline for a 17-year-old in his first pro season, I know it's a small sample size, but a 407 on base percentage, it's nothing to laugh at, Nick. That's definitely nothing to laugh at. And over 200 plate appearances here. So
Yep.
it is a small sample size, but there's enough track there to show that okay, this guy can definitely add that skill to his game later on in his professional career. And you look at that signing bonus that he got, $4.1 million. That pretty much rivals what the Blue Jays gave to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a few years ago, or however many years ago they signed him when Alex Anthopoulos was in the front office. That's a big amount of money. I think the max you can spend in international free agency in one season is $5 million. So for the Blue Jays to allocate all of that money to Emmanuel Bonilla, they must know something that others don't, and they must be very high on the player. So I'm excited about this guy. He projects as a center fielder as well. So not only is he some power hitting outfielder that's going to play right field, has a cannon of an arm. No, he's projected as a center fielder, as a long-term center fielder. And he's a five-tool player. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's very athletic, and like you said, a small sample size in general, but for a debut season, didn't battle injuries too much. And again, the power's not there yet. He's only 17 years old. He only struck out 55 times in 226 plate appearances, and you kind of mentioned it there. He is going to be a center fielder going forward, and as he matures, as he progresses, we've seen this with tons of different players. We suspect that his power will go up, and he's a bit of a longer way out compared to some of the other prospects, but I don't know. The Jays have done a good job at scouting these guys. Clearly, they see something in him, and we know that the front office, obviously, it was Alex Anthopoulos back then, but it seems the Jays ownership, the front office, when they see a player in the international pool that they want, they go out of their way to get him, even if it costs more than other teams were willing to potentially spend, in this case, at $4.1 million. So I'm excited about Emmanuel Bonilla. And like this article says here from a scouter, he's a potential top 10 or top 5 prospect by the end of this season. So this is something we're going to have to keep an eye on within the farm system. And Peter, let's move on to another guy we have to keep an eye on, Arjun Namala. He is a top 5 Jays prospect. This guy is 18 years old. He's still a little bit far away, but this is our first round pick in last year's draft at 20th overall. His ETA is in a couple seasons from now, or 3 seasons from now in 2027. Namala's an interesting one, Peter. We also discussed him, but again, these are the guys that aren't going to be making an impact next season. We've already spoken about a lot of these guys a bunch, Aroldis Martinez, Ricky Tiedemann, and we will be. But Arjun Namala is a shortstop, and Peter, I don't know if I want to say he's a shortstop of our future because we have Bo Bichette, but I think he has a chance to be a shortstop of maybe the far future. It depends what they do at Bo, but the point is he is skyrocketing through the rankings.
You can't help but be excited about all these guys that are coming up, and Namala, similar to Emmanuel Bonilla, just very raw and has all those tools to be a very good 5-tool player. And I'm just so excited about this guy. I think he's got immense power. I think he's got a good arm at shortstop, great range. I've loved all the film that I've seen on him, and I can't wait for him to move up in the ranks and play in AA and in AAA. But we're still a ways away from that. It's still going to take a while for these guys to have a serious impact, not only in the majors, but later in their minor league careers as well. And I'm talking about like New Hampshire and Buffalo. It's going to be a while before we see those guys play over there, but they're exciting prospects. They're so exciting. And we look at the Blue Jays after 2016, they kind of had to rebuild, and they lost a lot of their veteran guys. They had to turn it over to Vladdy and Bo and the rest of those guys. And it didn't take very long. It took them like 4 years to do that. So I don't think this turnaround is going to take that long for the Blue Jays if they do manage to go in kind of a retool direction after these next 2 years that we've been talking about. So you got to be excited. You got to follow these guys because they are going to be the Blue Jays of the future, and they're coming up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, you mentioned a lot of these guys are young, and you could also argue that some of these guys, depending on what path Ross Atkins takes, could be used as trade chips. I wouldn't suspect Bonilla would it be used in a trade chip just because of how young he is, but he could be. You could see Namala be used as a potential trade chip, and these are guys that I don't really want to be traded, but it is a chance. And Peter, let's wrap it up with a guy who's actually a little bit closer, as in potential to play this year, which is, of course, Damiano, or however you pronounce his name. He is a guy that, now we've made videos on him. He is borderline ready to play for an MLB team. Back-to-back 20-plus home run seasons in the minors. He is an absolute masher. Look at that OPS. Palmegiano, unbelievable guy. What are your thoughts on him? Do you think he has any spot with the team? Because we've seen the way that Ross Atkins has kind of constructed this team. He does not really seemingly want these prospects to play this year, given the fact that they got IKF, they got all these versatile guys, but maybe they'll force their hand, maybe in the sense of Palmegiano.
It depends how the Blue Jays value him. Is he ahead of Addison Barger, or is he ahead of Aroldis Martinez on the totem pole? I don't think so. Personally, for me, he isn't. So you talk about those other guys in Bonilla and Namala as trade chips. I'm looking at Damiano Palmegiani as a trade chip. I'm looking at this player as someone that can acquire you some major league talent, that can help out your team right now. So obviously you want to beef up your prospect system, and you want to have some backup plans in various different positions. But at the same time, you have to improve your major league ball club if you're looking to contend for a World Series, and that's what the Blue Jays are trying to do. So Palmegiani, good player, had a very good season last year in the minor leagues, played for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic as well, so he shined over there. But I could see him as a trade chip. If not him, then definitely Addison Barger, and most definitely Aroldis Martinez if the Blue Jays are really serious about making a big-time trade here.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what they do the rest of the way with. I mean, we still don't know if they're even going to bring back Matt Chapman, and we don't know if they could get Cody Bellinger for all we know at this point, the way the market is playing out. So I tend to agree. I think they're going to try to save these guys for the future in the next era of Jays baseball, I guess, and him here, Palmegiani, will be probably a decent trade chip, even if it's not right now this offseason. He could be potentially at the trade deadline next season. So Palmegiani is a good one to keep an eye out for. But Peter, that'll wrap it up. An interesting one. We're all just waiting for a move to happen. It's obviously been a while since, well, I guess we had IKF and Kevin Kiermaier, but we haven't had that big splash yet. And the next one will be the move, whether it's JD Martinez, whether it's Jorge Soler, whether it's Jock Peterson. I suspect over the next couple of weeks something will go down. But any quick final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Can't wait till spring training. I think we're just over 50 days away from it, and can't wait for baseball. I'm getting that itch again. I'm getting that itch. It usually starts a little bit later, but man, I cannot wait for baseball to start, and I'm very excited for this Blue Jays season.
Yeah, we're excited to keep you covered. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, click on your screen now, and we will see you tomorrow.